Let's now get to the discussion that regards the young people in the country. They are on set, they are ready. But before we do that, my producer managed to put up these graphics together, and we can have them up on air for our viewers to see. As of yesterday, the confirmed number of cases, 14, that topped up the already available numbers, bringing the total to 172. What you are seeing on your screens are the confirmed cases in the country. Total deaths that we have in the country is 6, recovered cases 7, tests done of these so far 4,973. Of that, 172 have tested positive, 6 have died, 7 have recovered. We'll get to the next item on your screens in regard to the graphical representation of the unemployment rate in the country. Ages 15 to 64% is 70%. Then we have the youth, 18 to 35%, who are unemployed, and that percentage is about 63. And then you have women, who make up more than 55% of the population in regard to the, of course, Kenyan demography. Now, going to the unemployment rate in the country, 1 in 2 graduates are unemployed, and only 1 in 5 youth with the university degree are in self-employment, therefore a concern in the country. This will be our subject of discussion, how this will be undertaken. Then we go to the next item, and which, of course, is in regard to the youth aged between 18 and 25 are twice more likely to be unemployed compared to their counterpart aged between 26 to 35 years in the country, and what the government needs to do. And it's a repeat playing on your screen in regards to the disparities between 18, 25 and 26 to 35. Then we can get, of course, back to our able panel here on the broadcast so that we can get their thoughts in regard to the coronavirus pandemic and what needs to be done for the government to step up measures to fight the pandemic. Gentlemen, I appreciate, Anna Lady, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Anthony Manyara is the president of the Kenya University Student Organization in the country. Thank you. Good morning. Maina Karobia is the chairperson, the Forum for Progressive Future in the country, an active grassroots political, of course, commentator, and his presence, of course, felt all the time. Winfred Abuti is sandwiched between Anthony and Maina. She is the national chairperson of Youths and the Building Bridges Initiative, BBI. I appreciate your time. Coming to you for purposes of gender balance, you are the only special person on board, Winfred Abuti. There's the clarion call by the government in regard to wanting the young people to enmesh themselves in regard to the efforts rolled out by the government in wanting them to help in the containment of the virus. Why is it now that the government is failing to tie the much-needed attention on the people it often neglects?
First of all, thank you for your time and for my presence on today. So what I would love to say is what we need to know as Kenyans and as the whole youth is that we have a quarter of the world population is made up of youth. And during this COVID-19 pandemic, we are disproportionately economically affected because most of the youths in this country, they are not on permanent jobs. Some of them are on contract jobs or on menial jobs that do not have paid leaves or health covers. So it is important for us as the youth to first get this information right. What number are we in this world population, and why is it that right now the government wants us to come in place to help them fight this pandemic, of which in the past years we've been neglected, and most of us are not employed, most of the graduates are not employed, and we are facing an unemployment crisis, not just worldwide, but in the whole country.
Okay.
Yeah, so first we need to get the facts right first.
The facts right, and then address the other problems equally, which are underlying and often, of course, crop up when the name young people are mentioned.
Yeah.
Coming to you, Maina Karobia, the chairperson for the Forum for a Progressive Future. How progressive is that future, and how do you think you can be part of the contributing force for the government to contain the coronavirus pandemic as a young person?
Yeah, thank you, Ayub, for hosting me. First of all, and I said this like 3 weeks ago, the coronavirus pandemic is like an unprecedented situation. it has created an unprecedented situation. And an unprecedented situation creates or brings unprecedented measures. So, in previous years, you have been saying youth being segregated, youth being put on the periphery in terms of being involved in the national conversation. But then, when you are in unprecedented times, you must come up with measures that are going to involve everybody. So right now, we are in a war period, because like our president rightfully said, we are in a war period as a country. So when you are in a war period, you must involve the most intelligent people in your society. You must involve the most educated people in the society and the most energetic people in the society. So among the people that you have brought, the statistics that you have shown us on the TV, the youths are the people who are the most, who qualify among those three indicators. So I think it is very much in order for the cabinet secretary to call out the youth to come and to be involved in this fight against this pandemic, so that we can secure our future. When we are fighting for the independence of this country, and in progressive societies, youths are the people who are being used to help the country or help a nation to face challenges of that country. So I think it is very rightful for us as youths to be involved in this fight, so that also as a generation, we can have our stake being felt. We can also have our ideas being heard. We can also have what we want, what we have been complaining that we are not being involved in national conversations. Now we can be felt, and so that they can see how we can deliver. Because right now we have been seeing leaders complain that youths can only, when they are given in the mantle of leadership, they are corrupt or they don't lead people like the way it is supposed to be. I think this is an opportunity for us to redeem the image as young people of this country.
Okay, and going forward, equally take a look, and without forgetting the underlying script, which is of course often unemployment, underappreciation, sidelining, neglect by the government, and why you seem to be absent or off the policy-making decision table in the country. Anthony Manyara, coming to you, the president of the Kenya University Student Organization. Pretty much the epicenter or the fulcrum point of any given society is what higher learning institutions do offer. And when I talk about the young people, the graphics we played clearly indicative of the fact that we make up a lion's share of the Kenyan population. And that presents the country with, of course, vibrant manpower in terms of moving it forward. How do we help the government in rolling out these strategies of wanting to contain the pandemic? And do you feel you have been part and parcel of the process that often where young people are needed, and how will you put that energy into use?
Thank you so much, Ayub. First of all, let me begin by saying that the pandemic has not only really affected our daily lives, it has affected very many people in the country, even mentally. And there's even a lot of panic when it comes to the spread, because I first of all would like to say that the ministry is trying its best, and we would like to commend them very highly, because they are really trying as much as possible to contain the spread. But I would like to say also, we as the youths, we of course need to contribute a very big part when it comes to awareness. When I talk about universities, you realize that there are very many things happenings in the universities which were halted by this pandemic, especially things to do with education. It doesn't happen like it was before, but University of Nairobi, for instance, has started the online classes, and it's happening very well. In fact, the students that were supposed to graduate will still graduate the same time. And we also would like to say even other universities should emulate University of Nairobi in what they are doing. But just looking at the greater scale as youths, we have a very big, it's our responsibility to create awareness, to help the public also contain this spread. You might see the government trying as hard as possible to contain the spread, but they cannot seal all the holes, or rather they cannot be able to contain the spread effectively without the input of young people who are a greater percentage of the country. And when I talk about that, I say that coming from the universities, which I speak about, or rather which I speak of, you realize that we have medical students, we have veterinary students. We would like to call upon the government also to take charge and to see how the universities can contribute in the fight against this spread. If I just take you back again, Ayub, you realize that the corona pandemic, or rather COVID-19, it was detected early, it was detected in late December, and we took so long to prepare. So it narrows down back to the issue of preparedness.
Okay.
We were not prepared, and when we were told that this pandemic is starting from China, we went ahead and let in a plane to the country which had carried people from China. So at the end of the day, we realized that the problem narrows back to the government.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the government did that error and they realize that they are not prepared, then we should call upon the government to look at 2 months from now, what will happen? Will there be food for people? Will there be medication? Just look at the numbers that you have just shown us right today. There are, I think, around 4,000 tests. Are those enough? We have a population of more than 40 million. It's around 47 million. If you say that you have tested 4,000 people, what percentage is that? So at the end of the day, there are the very many people who are not tested. You will realize that the virus is almost all over. And I've just watched the senator of Vihiga saying that he has stayed in quarantine for 14 days and he has realized that he is negative. You cannot realize you are negative when you are not tested.
And he tested, and he said he was not tested.
You know,
very clear about it. Okay.
At the end of the day, you realize, if you look down to history, there's a person who was called Typhoid Mary, but her real name is Mary Malone, but she was referred as Typhoid Mary because she was an asymptomatic carrier. When you're an asymptomatic carrier, that means you carry a disease for a very long time, you spread it, and at the end of the day, she contracted it to 51 people who were, of course, tested and tested positive. But how about those people who are not tested? There are very many people. So at the end of the day, you may realize that there are many, many people who have the virus, but they cannot be detected because we have no capacity to test everyone. Yeah.
All right. Well noted point. Mine, I'll come to you because we need to continue with the discussion alongside you, Winfred, and equally Anthony Manyara here on set. But now let's cross over to the constituency of Soy in Uasin Gishu County and join the Member of Parliament who represents that constituency, Caleb Kositani. Good afternoon, Mheshimiwa. Thank you for joining us here on the broadcast. Where you work is where, at the moment, the attention of the country is, and a climate of fear has gripped Parliament. Are you among the Members of Parliament who have been tested, and what's your status?
Well, thank you, Ebro TV. I am out in Nairobi. I have not been tested for COVID-19. I have been here since the last 2 weeks, actually. I've been at the farm, busy planting. I was just surprised, like many Kenyans are today, to see that I'm in the list. That list is actually fake. I haven't been tested for COVID-19. As and when I shall be tested, I shall, as a public figure, as a person who works with the members of the public, I will make my results public, whether positive or negative, and I will observe the regulations that have been set by government. I would also like to urge, if my colleagues, members of parliament who are tested, if there is any of them who has tested positive, testing positive for COVID-19 is not a death sentence. It is no mistake of your own. Let us all be responsible and go into quarantine. And if possible, if you feel you can, make it public that I'm a member of parliament of this constituency. I have tested positive, and let us help all of us help against COVID-19.
Okay, given the, of course, the concern that Kenyans have in regard to the pandemic, this is a time of taking the temperatures of things here, Mheshimiwa. How important is Parliament in the containment measures and supplement the already provided efforts by the government in ensuring that we all are able to weather the storm of the pandemic in the country?
Well, Parliament is very important because we need to sit as Parliament in order to pass the tax bills that the President proposed, which we support fully. And we also need to sit as Parliament in order to appropriate more funds for the war on COVID-19. And I would just say, as I have said earlier, that as a member of Parliament, one responsibility we have is to be honest and to be in the forefront in any calamity that we have in our country. So we want every member of parliament who has tested, post your results if they are negative, post your results if they are positive. Let us fight this corona war together as members of parliament and as Kenya and the world in general.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for, of course, joining us here on the program. Your input is appreciated and getting clarity onto, of course, your status and what you have mentioned as Parliament now standing in the need of time to ensure that Kenyans are accorded the needed attention in the containment measures against the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you, and of course we'll be able to again get back you here on the broadcast when time, of course, allows us to do so. Asante sana, joining us from the constituency of Soiwe. He represents, that is the Member of Parliament, Caleb Kositani. Coming to you, Maina Karobia, there's the important element here of often wanting to establish how we will weather the storm and navigate the coronavirus waters at the moment. But then how does the same government that's calling for the energetic youth, in this case, provide money or funds for the contribution of the youth towards the helping of raising awareness, going to the counties, being digital and literal? They can be able to help out the society, and of course, owing to the demography and those who are vulnerable, in this case, the elderly. So what's the provision, and how will that be important in the case of the young people rolling out the awareness message in the fight against the pandemic?
I think there's a lot the government can do on that. First of all, you should know that youths are so much active on social media. So I call upon the youths to constructively use the social media to create awareness and also enlighten and share information with people who are also on those platforms. So I think also the government can also facilitate the young people to share or to disseminate this information. And this is through maybe the county, not the county, through the national administration that is at the county level, so that they can map out youths who are influential. They can map out young people who are very active, even in previous times, in terms of sensitizing the community, so that at this moment, they can be able to reach out to as many people as possible at this pandemic. Additionally, I think the Ministry of Health can also tap into community health workers or the community level, especially the young people. Because as I said, young people are very energetic and they are educated. So there are so many, the demographics have shown that so many young people are not employed. I think it is this, the government should take this opportunity to tap on that, to tap on those demographics. They map out the professionals in the health sector who are young people, so that they can sensitize the community on how they are going to contain this pandemic and how they are going to behave, so that we cannot have widespread infections at our county levels.
Okay, yeah. Winifred, coming to you. Of course, talking about the important element of having more or less symbiotic relations, where the young people gain, the government gains. The gain of the government is the gain of the common man, in this case, of course, wanting to keep the pandemic at bay. But how do we activate that important relationship, which has been often gripped by suspicion in the previous times? How do we activate it now, going forward, to create a partnership, a proper partnership between the young people and the government, not for COVID purposes, but for the foreseeable future and the future of young people in this country?
What I would love to say is that, first of all, we, as the youth, have to adhere to the regulations that have been put in place, that are being implemented by the government to curb and mitigate this issue that we have at hand. The symbiotic relationship that should be created between the government and the youth is supposed to be now and now, because right now, most of the youths are back at home and they're not doing anything. They're just, they're idle because of the kind of jobs that they are doing. So as the government, it should come out categorically and state what it has for the youth at this particular time, in these trying times, so that in future, these people or these young men and women will be able to trust the government with everything. Because in the past, most of the youths have not had trust in the government, especially when it had come to employment positions and dockets of the youths being occupied by very old people, like 70-year-old, 90-year-old. So I think right now it is the only time that the government should come out. Clearly, it should come out categorically and state what it has for the youth, so that they can come to an amicable agreement and agree on setting up objectives and goals that will be attained at the end of all this pandemic. Because after this whole issue, we're going to come up with a new set of leadership. For example, the one that is being being displayed by Governor Joho, who's showing some good leadership skills. You know, these are the kind of people that the youth need to like come and cohabit with them and come up with solutions to this great issue that is affecting the whole world, and the issue that is affecting us both emotionally, physically, and economically, and psychologically. So we really need this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony Manyara, if I may come to you, what we want is to attain, or the intent is to attain one goal, which is to slow down the virus. After we weather the storm, then of course resume life in the normal ways that we used to do. But do you think then the young people now who have been called upon to roll up their sleeves and spring into action by the government can do this wholeheartedly, despite their low morals because of underemployment and appreciation by the same government? Can they do it 100%?
First of all, allow me to say that majority of Kenyans are very ignorant, and it's a challenge which is eating us. And if you look at the curve, which is showing how the spread is going, it's an exponential curve, which shows that the numbers are rising within a very short time. And if our numbers in Kenya are not rising, it's a problem of testing, because I believe that this is a virus which, if it gets you when your immune system is weak, then it has a high chance of bringing you down.
Okay.
But the matter about youths, if you just look at how our politicians have taught us as youths, when there is unrest, politicians call youths. When there are demonstrations, politicians call youths. When there are elections, politicians call youths.
All the people need the youth.
But, just a moment, but when you look at that trend of when the youths are required, what if when the youths are going to seek for employment, the employers will seek for minimum of 10 years job experience. They will require you to be cleared by CRB. They will require you to be cleared by HELB. They will require you to be cleared by KRI. It's a very serious process, which has left this country having very many unemployed youths. And if you look at the beginning of this year, the what do you call him? The governor of Central Bank. He's saying that this year, Kenya will experience very tough economic times. Yeah, even before coronavirus pandemic came across, Kenya was struggling economically. It's not something which is new. At the end of the day, we were still discussing. I actually came to this show discussing matters unemployment. Okay. This is something which you have discussed the whole of last year. So at the end of the day, if we come this year to talk about how the youths will be helping in containing this spread, it will narrow down back. Are the youths really capable? Can they contribute? I heard that youths can be able to contribute some money to help. But anyway, when we look at the positive side is, the youths are the majority of people who are enlightened back in the villages. So at the end of the day, we can say that youths have the obligation, the sole duty of helping other people who are not enlightened. But then again, I would like also to ask the youths not to entirely rely on the government regulations. They should research more to look at what WHO is saying about this coronavirus pandemic, and to see how they can sensitize people.
And what can be done better.
And then, let me just finish on this.
Yes, briefly, because we're going on break, okay.
The elderly are the ones who are being affected by coronavirus, if you look at mostly, because they have very weak immune systems. So, I would just try to urge Kenyans who are young, who have, strong vigor, they can be able to help the elderly, because those are the ones who are being hit most. Yeah, thank you.
Asante. We'll continue with the discussion. Anthony Manyara, Maina Karobia, Winfred Abuti, appreciated. And when we get back from the break, we'll be continuing with the discussion that pertains young people in the country, despite, of course, not forgetting to mention the positive aspects of young people who are now taking part in social awareness campaigns and helping out in the slum areas, especially in the capital, Nairobi. The number is 0791 478 990, the hashtag on Twitter, New Day KE. The short SMS code is 40920. After the break, we'll equally be taking a look at the highlights that pertain to the international update in regard to the United States of America leading the pack in the coronavirus cases across the world and what needs to be done as, of course, needed by the World Health Organization. Stay tuned for the last segment of the broadcast here on New Day Kenya this afternoon. We are into the last segment of the program here on New Day Kenya in regard to, of course, our continuing coverage extensively of the coronavirus pandemic in the country. We are having the young people's discussion in effect to the coronavirus crisis, why the government wants them to spring into action and help the government in the mitigating measures to contain the fast-spreading virus in the country, and how they will do that with regards to the funding required from the government. We are doing that with Anthony Manyara, the president of the Kenya University Student Organization, Maina Karobia, the chairperson of the Forum for Progressive Future, and Winfred Abuti, who is the national chairperson of Youth and the BBI. Before we continue with the discussion and I get to Maina here on the broadcast, allow me to cue the sound bites by young people in the country who have been complaining about the containment measures announced by the government. To be specific, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday, after announcing the restrictive measures in the counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale. Here is what they had to say.
Hii mambo ya kaunti kufungwa tutaona vibaya sana. Itabidi magari tuyaweke, tungojee hiyo 21 days. Kwa sababu maisha tena atakuwa ni watu watakuwa hawana kazi.
Na kusema kweli, kulingana na hii mambo ya sahihi yametuadhiri sana. Ni kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu sahihi sisi ambao sako zetu zinaenda hii highway, zinaenda Voi, Taita. Sahi hatuna kazi ambayo tutafanya kuanzia kesho. Tuko na familia, tuko na watoto, tunategemea hapa.
Kama ingewezekana hizi kaunti tatu ziwe zina negotiate, ziwe zinatembeleana. Wa Malindi au anakuja Mombasa, na wa Mombasa au anaweza kwenda Kilifi. Lakini ikiendelea hii kafu kama wa Kilifi ni wa Kilifi, kwanza upande wetu wa biashara itakuwa umeenda chini. Itakuwa tufanyi kazi.
Watu wameambiwa wakae nyumbani, kweli tutakaa, lakini tutakula nini? Tunachohitaji ni msaada. Hakuna habari ya kusema utamatia wale watu wengine. Sisi wote ni wa Kenya.
Tunafungia watu sio mizigo. Tunataka kuwazuia watu wasitembee kwa hizo siku 21, hasa wale watu ambao hawastahili kuwa Mombasa wasije Mombasa, wale ambao ni watu wa Kwale wakae Kwale, watu wa Kilifi wakae Kilifi.
Well, those are some of the sound bites from the people who have been affected in the coastal strip counties of Kwale, Mombasa, and Kilifi counties that will take effect today, Wednesday at 7 p.m. following the directive issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta, who addressed the nation on Monday evening. But for Nairobi, it took effect immediately on Monday, about 48 hours ago. Maina Karobia, coming to you. You have heard how it led to disruptions of life and the people raising concerns as to these directives by the government. Even as this is supported across board, and there is the aspect of universal support for these measures which are restrictive, how do we then balance the social support system in the society for life to continue as normal in regard to the soundbite that we heard from the people in the coastal strip?
I think the national government or the national administration has a lot to do in these counties. The government should take into consideration that these people have lives to live, they have families to feed, they also have the social affiliations, social groups that they are affiliated to. So I think the county administration, that is the regional commissioner in that region, county commissioner, DCC, ACC, they should be mandated to see how these people, they are going to continue with their lives. Otherwise, if we continue leaving these people to, if we lock them down, up as counties or as a region, and then we leave them to just do whatever they want, we are going to have a disorganized county or a disorganized region at the coast. So I think the government should take precautionary measures that they are going to, so that we don't have some disorganization in those counties. Secondly, there should be some economic intervention in those counties. And economic intervention, I mean, in terms of food distribution, in terms of agreements for those people who are in urban areas. The government should have an agreement with landlords, so that we don't have a situation whereby tenants and landlords are fighting over how the tenants are going to live to the obligations of living in somebody's house. So I think,
but there's the aspect of course, now addressing the other aspect of the equation, which are the banks here, that landlords need to pay some mortgages back, and therefore it's more or less a chain. Then how do we involve the banks in this case, so that they can also come with some aspects of relief on the landlords, then the landlords can come upon some relief for the tenants?
Exactly. There should be some multi-level engagement between among all stakeholders. That is the government, the banks, and also the property owners, so that we don't have a situation whereby the public is overwhelmed by the bills that they should be paying. And when you have a public that is overwhelmed, then you have some economic distress in those regions, thereby leading to a situation whereby you find people going to supermarkets or getting to people's properties and running away with the properties. So I think the government should intervene, both socially and economically. The third thing, I think also the government should do this. There is, right now we have been calling for international economic intervention. But I think each and every country is having its own problems in terms of this coronavirus pandemic.
There's the global suffrage.
Yeah, so I think Kenya, I've been seeing the presidents in Africa video conferencing. I think presidents in Africa should also video conference the United Nations Secretary General and tell him that there should be some debt restructuring, so that the countries that have extra or foreign debts, those debts can for now be relieved, or they should be stopped. And when we have this, when the virus is contained and the global financial market resumes, then we can have the debt continue from where it stopped. But as of now, if we continue with the debt payment, we will have an economic distress whereby our nation will not be able to service the economy or the economic needs that this country has.
All right, Winfred, I'm coming to you. Let me pick this soundbite from the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Health, Mutahi Kagwe, who, of course, spoke in effect to the discussion at hand, and that regards the young people in the country, calling for them to roll up their sleeves and get that, meaning help the government in containing the coronavirus pandemic. Here is what he had to say at Afya House, Nairobi County.
I wish to make a special appeal today. I wish to make a special appeal and address a special group of people who are the youth of our nation. The youth are the biggest component of our society. The youth are also the people who are largely mobile. The youth are also the people who have got the energy, and I wish to appeal for the unleashing of this energy in fighting the disease. First and foremost, if you look at the statistics, global statistics, it shows two very glaring statistics. One is that the youth are the ones who are contacting the disease, but two, the youth are safer than the older people, and therefore the carriers who then take it to the older people who get it, and then the older people die in larger and larger numbers. Therefore, I want to appeal to the Kenyan youth as follows. First, I wish to appeal to them to become part of the solution to the problem that we are experiencing by taking certain measures. As I said, we do not wish to have people traveling up country. If the youth take the responsibility of organizing themselves in similar format in the fight against coronavirus, they can reach a new impetus. We can create the difference between the way we are handling our things in Kenya and the way it is being handled elsewhere, by ensuring that the youth are the center of our fight against this disease. It is the responsibility of our youth, therefore.
All right, that is the CS speaking, and we'll be shortly taking a story that regards, of course, which is the latest in regard to the formation of a command center in the Rift Valley as the government battles the coronavirus pandemic and an attempt to create one communication channel. Now, Rift Valley region has unveiled a coronavirus COVID-19 command center that will oversee the operations of the 14 counties in the region. The operation to be drawn from the relevant national and county government administrations and departments include security, administration, public health and social services. Milia Kisianya has that update.
So the information that they bring here is verified and is accurate. So once we get that information here, we collect it, and summarize it, and then send it to Nairobi every morning and every evening.
What they do is to man the 2 telephones that are here. We have the hotlines, and then we have the reports that they receive from the counties. They compile them, and then they send to the National Multi-Agency. The reports are supposed to identify the people who've been quarantined, either during the curfew period or during the monitoring period, which is where we are right now, and to identify any incident that has happened during that period.
Is the latest update in regard to the government developing a communication command center in regard to, of course, getting the information that regards the 14 counties in the Rift Valley region as the government continues to battle the coronavirus crisis and communicating and creating that one communication channel for proper communication by the government. And of course, the pictures you saw were that of the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, Bwana George Natembea. Now, I was on you, Winfred, yes, in regard to the effects of the containment measures restrictive, of course, from the youth perspective. What's your take on the soundbites you played from the coastal strip counties of Kwale, Mombasa, and Kilifi?
Okay. First and foremost, I want to reiterate the fact that most Kenyans are ignorant. I'm a Kenyan and I know we are ignorant of most of the situations that are always unveiling in front of us. So first of all, we have to know that this thing is real. COVID-19 is real. It has affected the 52 countries in Africa. Only 2 are not affected, that is Comoros and I think Lesotho. They're not affected. So this virus is here with us. So we don't need to just put it away like that and assume. We have to be really vigilant on all the measures that have been put in place, because as per now we have 1.4 million affected cases in the whole world. So it means it is here with us. So as the youth, we really need to stick to the rules and the regulations that have been put in place. And we should also be on the forefront on educating others on this COVID-19 issue. So the youth need to come out and come out with capacity building programs. So these capacity building programs are the ones that are going to help the others understand that this COVID-19 is real, because others, they are looking at it from a religious perspective, which is very wrong. They're saying that this is just punishment for us. Of course, we are all religious and we all believe in God, but this is real. COVID-19 is real, so we need not to be ignorant, because when you look at most of the countries, when you look at the center of the political rights and the center of political rights and civic rights for humans, 70 countries in the whole world have declared a state of emergency. 12 in Africa have declared that. So it means this is a serious issue and we need not to be ignorant. And another thing that I'm going to say is that we are going back to the world economic crisis that happened in 2008, where we saw that between 2008 and 2009, we had a rise of 7.8 million youths who are jobless. So this is according to the World Labour Organization. So we really need, as the youths, to understand that this is not just a problem that is here with us alone. It is a world, it is a global problem. So what we really need to do, and what the government needs to do, is to come up with intervention measures and mitigation measures to ensure that first, Kenyans are not affected, two, do we have something to put on the table when we are at home, and three, ways of making sure that we are curbing no further spread of this issue. So the government needs to provide food for people. There's money in the government, we know that. Secondly, the public needs to be sensitized that they really need to wash their hands, as it is the measure according to the World Health Organization. So we really need to adhere to these set rules and regulations.
Asante, well noted point. Homegrown solutions for homegrown problems. Well, of course, we are part of the global economy. Anthony Manyara, if I may come to you, mathematically, the millennials in this country number up to 10.1 million. These are people who are born post-2000 in the current century of the 49.7 million Kenyans. I mean, we are talking, when you talk of young people, we are talking about high school goers, university students, school dropouts, college goers, and people who age between 18 and 34. When the dust settles, we shake off the coronavirus pandemic, the global community shakes off the coronavirus pandemic dust, then how do we turn our attention on them equally in not becoming breeding ground for crime and other social evils in the society?
Well, I think, yeah, you have raised a very strong point, saying that it's 10.1, is it?
10.1 million.
Yeah. When you look at the university students alone, we are 1.78. That is universities, colleges, and TVET institutions. The youths, generally, like the way the CS said, they have a great potential of ensuring they slow the spread through awareness. And as you can see, if you look at the social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if we use it in the right perspective, or rather we use it the right way, we can be able to help in the spread of COVID-19. But also, as youths, we can help also, you know, if you look at the trend, there has been some panic. If at all we can handle that panic to show people that even young people who are experts, for instance, if you look at the universities, maybe for 50-year students, 60-year medical practitioners, they can help around their villages, they can help around their households, they can help around to sensitize people, also to help the elderly, and so forth. But about what you have just said about the young people, the 10.1 million young people, there's a lot that they can do. Apart from sensitization, they can also help in, you know, food, taking food to those people who are affected, and also, you know, trying to educate others, something of the sort.
Okay. Maina Korobia, let me give you the final words as you finish up. In regard to the efforts so far, the government springing into action, is the response enough so far from the young people's perspective, even as your efforts or energy is sought by the government? And do you think that in the aftermath, we can be able to build a cohesive society where there's healthcare, proper healthcare, where there's education, whether, I mean, with no regard for belonging or, I mean, status or a social structure of the society or the hierarchy, infrastructure, I mean, better road connectivity, and a boost of a societal cohesiveness among the Kenyan people after the dust settles on the coronavirus pandemic?
To my fellow young people, I think we have a lot to do in our country. We need to stand still. Thomas Paine, during the clamor for independence in America, said that these are the times that try the souls of men. So I think as young people, these are the times that are going to try our patriotism, our professionalism, and our energy as a generation. So I think we need to take the mantle so that we can have a generational change. And a generational change in this country is going to be witnessed by us, first of all, taking and leading this country during this pandemic. Let us not leave the government alone to offer solutions to this problem that is facing our country.
Okay.
As young people, we need to do a lot. We save our country, we serve our nation, and you serve the next person to you. To the government, I think it is time we change how we do things. Let us review how our health system, how our education system, how our water system or our water sector is operated in this country. I think it is time we move from a capitalistic nation to a welfare nation, so that we can have a nation that is looking at the welfare of the people. We need to change from the perspective of profits to the perspective of efficiency of public entities.
Okay, and for the interest of the common man, yes, briefly, your final remarks.
I wanted to
I'm being told out to get out.
Okay, what I would love to say is this. First of all, I always tell people attitudes are greater than facts. So we need to remain positive and have a positive mental image of what is going all around us. Everything is going to be fine. And as the youths, we are not invincible. We are prone to infection. So we need to really take charge of everything that is being told us. And we need to tell others what this is all about. And to the government, kindly take care of the people. People are suffering. People are at home. They don't have food. And then you're telling them to stay at home. How are they going to stay at home? What if a lockdown happens? What is going to happen?
Okay.
So we really need this.
Asante.
We really
Anto,
need this.
as you finish up.
Finally, my word is very simple. As we can see, the government is trying to buy time. That is all of us we are trying to do, to buy more time, to wait for bigger countries, America, China, to get the vaccine. It's a very good move for countries, especially in Africa. So we buy more time for them to get a cure. But if the time is prolonged, we need as well to be united as a country. Young people should help others. Young people should come at the forefront of helping the community, the people who are not able to help themselves, the elderly, those kind of people.
Okay.
And then again, young people also should be at the forefront of sensitizing, creating awareness. The rules have not changed. Hand washing, those kind of things, self-isolation. Let us take them seriously. Let us look at the government directions and adhere to them completely, and all will be well.
Asante sana. Anthony Manyara is the president of the Kenya University Student Organization. Maina Karobia, the chairperson of the Forum for Progressive Future. Winfred Abucha, the Center National Chairperson, Youths and the BBA. Asante sana, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Your effort is always appreciated. Let's get the numbers in regard to the pandemic and what we so far have from the Johns Hopkins University Center for Systems, Science and Engineering at the university. 1.4 million people have been affected. 1,431,375. Then you have 82,145 deaths. Of that, Italy makes up 17,000, Spain 14,000, France 10, the United Kingdom 6. So only the European countries account for more than 57,000 of the coronavirus cases, deaths globally. Recovered cases across the globe, 301,417. China leads the pack in that. And then you have this outlook in terms of the global geography. And you can see the heat map. The attention of the world now is on the United States of America, which is, of course, now the epicenter of the coronavirus crisis, recording more than 300,000 cases. Now, coming to what we have in terms of the breakdown of the numbers in regard to the pandemic. And as that loads in regard to the pandemic and the effect it has had, let's take a look at the plot and the mapping outside China. You can see the cases are continuously exponentially increasing outside the Chinese city of Wuhan in Hubei province, as things are stabilizing in that city following the ending of the lockdown by the Xi Jinping government in Beijing, and of course the order afterwards, the discovery of the first cases in China, which was issued by the government. And as we continually as a country come up with measures to ensure that the pandemic does not spread beyond the Kenyan border. And your efforts are appreciated. Thank you for keeping us company here on the program. The number has been 0791478990, the hashtag on Twitter, NewDayKE, the short SMS code 40920. And we'll be here tomorrow for the primetime news and News Compass. We'll be having a live Skype interview from the German city of Bremen to talk to Dr. Lois Stembeck to give us an upbeat assessment of the German model, the healthcare system, why unlike France, the United Kingdom, Spain and Italy, they have not been affected, and what needs to be done by the Kenyan policymakers to ensure that they establish a healthcare system that has a strong foundation in the country. As we equally will be briefing you on the status of affairs in the country as we await the regular updates by the government in regards to CS Mutahi Kagwe taking charge. And that, of course, will be coming up shortly here on the broadcast. In the next 5 minutes or so, Kenneth Kazungu is up next with Ebru, 1 p.m. and you'll be getting to know what's happening across the country in effect to the coronavirus crisis. And we'll be back here tomorrow at the same time. Good afternoon.